Welcome to the Visibility Vixen podcast, where we create space to grow our brand with intention and clarity, one episode at a time. Join us as we explore the many aspects of entrepreneurship, start loving the journey instead of the destination, and begin building a legacy that lasts. Here's your host, Michelle Lewis.
Hey everyone, welcome to today's episode. I am thrilled to have this wonderful, incredible woman entrepreneur, Kimberly Ann Jimenez, here on the show. Welcome, Kim.
Hi guys, thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored to be here, Michelle. I mean, I'm a huge fan of your podcast, so I'm so honored that you invited me over and we get to talk shop today.
I love Kim, guys. She's incredible. I actually found her from a Facebook ad and was like, who is this girl? Like, she's so pretty and she has all this stuff going on. And I got one of her opt-ins. And then like a week later, she had opened up the business lounge. And I was like, and I joined right away. And I have had the incredible blessing of being a part of the business lounge and able to see her constantly creating content for her tribe and just the incredible energy she brings to being an entrepreneur and being the CEO of your own business. So Kim, why don't you give everyone a little bit of a background in terms of how you got started in this and what you're doing now?
Sure, absolutely. I'd love to do that. By the way, thank you so much for the kind words. You're so sweet. I just love you. Basically, I got started doing online marketing because my husband, we were actually dating at the time. He launched his first startup. It was a traditional moving service for college kids. And so I wanted to be a good girlfriend. And
yes,
I started, right, very important. So I was like, well, you know what? I think I can help you with like managing your Facebook page. And so started learning about marketing, had no idea what marketing was all about really. And at the time I was going to school for nutrition and dietetics, so completely different industry. And I started really just looking through information online, fell in love with marketing and just how it enables you to be really creative and, just really put amazing content out there and just the entire notion of content marketing. I just fell in love with it. So I started learning more about it and we started growing his business tremendously through Facebook marketing and Facebook advertising. And so we tried a lot of things. We tried traditional advertising, we tried doing radio spots, we tried getting on the student planner, and nothing was working. So fast forward a couple of months, we were making over $23,000 directly from Facebook marketing. Wow. And we were a startup. So for a startup, that was amazing, right? We're bootstrapped, and that was really cool. So, it just evolved from there and it started growing. Friends started asking us what we were doing. I started just becoming obsessed with online marketing and I got an internship in school. A couple months later, I was actually offered a job as a social media coordinator for a student housing and development company. And so I was didn't have a lot of experience, but they hired me right off the gate and helped, literally just gave me my start in online marketing, allowed me to run their entire social media department for over 14 properties in about 6 or 7 different states. I was working with a team and it was incredible. I started really learning how to run marketing and advertising campaigns at a very high level with, multiple 7-figure marketing budget. So it was an amazing experience for a 22-year-old, with no experience really. Wow. And I started learning, how to market in the real world with a lot of resources. But I always had this thing about working with small businesses. I'd seen my now husband, at the time he was my boyfriend, kind of struggle with this whole entrepreneurship thing. And I loved to help my friends. And I had a couple of clients on the side. And so working, in the corporate environment was really demanding. And although it was my dream job because the people that I worked with were incredible human beings, I felt like the luckiest person ever. Mm-hmm. About 6 months in, I was completely overwhelmed and I got really burnt out. And I started thinking about starting my own consulting firm. A lot of people were asking about it. And so my husband, of course, was really encouraging me to go the entrepreneurship route because he's an entrepreneur, it runs through his blood. Mm-hmm. It's like you're born an entrepreneur. I'm not that way at all. So I decided that I was going to quit. And I did. So I started my own thing. And literally that same day, president of the company called me and was like, hey, don't leave, we'll become your client. And so it just began from there. And so ever since I've
Cool.
been, working with clients and recently just launched my online programs and products, which you're a part of, the Business Lounge. And so that's kind of how it's come into existence.
Wow, that's incredible. So, because you kind of started doing these services for other people, that's a big transition to go from that to like, hey, I'm going to be my own thought leader with my own products and e-courses and kind of leverage your time instead of scheduling and creating systems for other people.
Totally.
So, what kind of made you want to transition into that, and what have you seen as a result in terms of growth for yourself?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think it was a mixture of things. It wasn't, like I woke up one day, I was like, I'm tired of doing this.
Hmm.
But it was a mix of just having and noticing that people wanted the service, first of all, which was, I think I was very lucky in that sense because I already had validation for it. So seeing that and then also being like totally immersed in learning from other people, right? I was following all the thought leaders. I was
Hmm.
really into it, like listening to podcasts, and I was signing up for workshops and courses because I really wanted to excel at what I was doing, and my job demanded it. So I started looking at the opportunities out there and seeing like, wow, this is an actual career. Like I could do social media marketing for a living. And so I started exploring it and really doing a lot of research. And I'm the kind of person that I don't like jumping into things without having a plan. Like
Yeah,
I'm
me
not a risk
neither.
taker. Like I'm just not. It's just my husband is. I'm just like, oh, I don't know about this. So it took a lot of time. Like it was weeks and weeks of me just thinking about it and doing a lot of research to make sure that it was something viable. And then also talking to other people who had already been there and done that and being like, okay, so, I don't want to just be the social media marketing girl. So
Hmm.
how can my business evolve in the future? And I literally remember I sat down and I wrote down 3 phases that I wanted my business to go through.
Mm.
The first phase was going to be me just getting in the trenches and working with as many clients as I possibly could to get them results. Like, I didn't want to be that person that just talked about the theory of social media marketing. I wanted to actually get the results. And
Love
since
it.
I'd had that experience, with my husband, I was like, okay, it is about the numbers, people. This is fun and it's great. And I love that we can be creative and we can have cute posts. But at the end of the day, it's about making more money, right? It's about getting your message out there, serving people authentically, but then also growing your business. And so I wanted to work with as many businesses as I possibly could. My first year in business, I worked with over 50 entrepreneurs. I mean, it was insane. And just sitting down and really just thinking about what I wanted my business to be like. And then, the second phase would be consulting and then moving away from kind of like the done for you service. And then the third phase would be launching my online courses, which is where I'm at right now. But it really wasn't, it was a progression. It wasn't like, oh, one week I decided I'm going to quit and I'm going to do my own thing. It wasn't like that. I talked to
Hmm.
my parents and it was like, I'm thinking about doing this, but I don't know. And they were like, do it, or they were very supportive, which was great.
It's awesome.
Um, but yeah, that's kind of like it was an evolution of different things and different doors that opened up and a lot of prayer. I'm a
Hmm.
Christian and I believe in the power of prayer,
Me
and
too.
God truly opened up the doors for me in some incredible ways and put people in place to support me along the journey.
Mm.
And of course, I was doing the work. So I believe that you have to also do the work, not just pray, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that's kind of how it came about.
I love that. And I think for me, I didn't have like another job that I was doing at the time. I did quit cold turkey, and for like, I know, and I
That's
mean, it wasn't like
awesome.
quitting. It was like the show ended and I was like, okay, I don't want to be a stand-in anymore. And I was getting my doctorate in natural medicine. And so I thought kind of like what you did, that I was going to be a health coach. And then it slowly transformed into an overnight, when I couldn't trademark Ladypreneur Legacy, I had this other domain I had reserved, which is Visibility Vixen. And that's when everything like crystallized in my brain. And I was like, oh my God, I know exactly what I'm supposed to do. So I love that for you it was an evolution, and that I never want people to feel like they look at where we are now, and of course you're further beyond than I am, but they look at us and go, what am I ever going to be able to do that? Am I ever going to find my one thing? I feel like I'm just drowning in a sea of Facebook groups and comparisonitis. And so like Kim is saying, you don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to have your plan completely executed yet. It's okay if you don't know what your niche is. It's a gradual discovery process. And then there will be that light bulb moment where you're like, I know exactly what I'm supposed to do. I don't know. It just like happens in your gut, right? At least it's
Yeah. I love that you bring that up because I feel like it's so incredibly important. I mean, so many of us, and I remember when I first started, I was the same way. I was just completely paralyzed just by comparing myself to other people. It was like, I'm never going to get my first 100 email subscribers. You know, there's no way. And these people already have 100,000. Like, I'm never going to get there. And so I love that you bring that up because I don't think that anyone's path and anyone's journey is the same. Like, we're all on our own journey. And it doesn't matter like what stage you're in right now. Just trust that if you do the work and if you get out there and you get the support and the help that you need, you're going to figure it out. You're going to figure out what you're meant to do in the world. And I definitely think like even, you know, after I decided to quit and start my own thing, I had no idea I was going to just be helping online business owners. I had no idea. I thought I was going to help everybody who had a business, you know, just anyone who had a business. And for the first year, that's who I helped. So I didn't really have my niche and I didn't really have my target audience. And I had no idea what persona I was going to go after. It was just a process. And your business, just like your life, will evolve. You know, I don't know where I'm going to be in the next year or two. I might completely pivot into something different. So also giving yourself permission to, you know, change things up and know that it's okay to not have, you know, a super rigid structured plan. Of course, it's good to plan, but don't let that specific plan dictate your future. Just go with it and see what comes out of this awesome journey that we're all in.
Yes. Entrepreneurship is like number one, self-discovery. Like every little thing that you're trying to hide or escape or whatever will come screaming out. Like it's all about self-work, self-reformation, and then I don't know, it just starts to evolve, and then you start seeing these people that you can help, and it just all fits together. So like she's saying, take the pressure off of yourself. It's okay that this is a journey. My dad, I actually interviewed him on the podcast last month.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was so much fun. And we were talking about video and expectation and all this, and he said the best quote I ever heard, I can't remember who the guy was, but he said, you know, we spent all this time climbing this mountain like Everest or whatever, but when you get to the top, there's nothing there. Like it's all about that journey. It's all about setting those next goals. And that helped me so much. I was so invested in that end game that I wasn't looking at the day-to-day accomplishments and joys. So since we're in Systems Month, I know, blows my mind every time. Since we're in Systems Month, I think this is a really good thing to touch on because you're going to be spending time setting up your website, your email responder, your courses, your offerings, all of that stuff, your funnels, and it can feel really overwhelming and you might feel like, I'm not going to be happy until it's all done. But I encourage you to celebrate the small wins and to just enjoy the process. It's an incredible thing to be an entrepreneur and have the ability to put all of your creativity into your brand, into your identity, into serving other people. So on that note, let's transition into the topic of today, which is workflow. Workflow.
Yeah. You're all like with like your total moves on. Oh my gosh, I'm losing my words. I'm getting so excited. I'm just like all geeky here dancing, and you got like real moves. I'm totally embarrassed, guys.
The moves are really embarrassing. Me and my husband are like the whitest people you'll ever meet. Like if we're at the club or whatever, my husband does the march, which is just this. This is all he's got. That's it. And like for me, I'm like, you know, busting this out. It's awful.
I love it. So funny.
But yeah, I want to talk about, Kimberly is so genius in this area. And I really wanted to bring her on the show because I think that clarity is key. It's king. It's everything, because we tend to be so creatively brained. We're like, I need to get all my content out there and I need to be more visible and blah, 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 blah. And we drive ourselves nuts and get nothing done during the day because we're in such overwhelm about what we do. So Kim is going to help us break that down into actionable steps using Trello and how to get more organized so that your workflow can do more of the work for you, so you'll have more free time and a more crystal clear plan. So
Amen.
Kim, I'm here to enjoy. I'll definitely steer if I need to, but you're amazing at this. So kind of take us through what has been so instrumental for you in setting up a workflow.
Sure. I'd love to do that. So I definitely love that you talk about, the benefits of a workflow, because as you know, I'm very passionate about this topic, especially because, as solopreneurs, we tend to wear so many hats, right? We are the marketing person, we're the salesperson, we're also the virtual assistant, and we're doing social media marketing, and we're doing the actual courses and servicing clients, and it can get super overwhelming, right?
I feel like I need a nap. Yeah.
Exactly. Just talking about it, it's like, oh my gosh, do we really do all of that? And we do.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So, I became just completely immersed in this whole workflow thing just because of my own need, right? Just figuring out how the heck am I going to manage all of these to-dos, how to meet those deadlines, make sure that we're moving forward and not feeling like you're constantly waking up to catch up with your inbox every single day. I mean, the struggle is real, right?
It is so real. I'm feeling it right now.
So, for our listeners, if you're feeling that way right now, there is hope. I promise there is hope. It takes, some dedicated effort, but you can definitely get to a place where you feel like you have all of your tasks under control, you're meeting your deadlines, and waking up in the morning doesn't feel like a complete panic attack, as soon as you turn on your computer, because you know exactly what you're supposed to be working on every single day. And so that's what we're going to go over today. And I kind of broke this down into 3 steps for you guys because I like steps. I think it makes things structured and a lot easier to follow. Yeah. So the first step that I have for you guys is to get a task management system. Now, like Michelle mentioned, I am a total Trello geek. I absolutely love Trello. I think it's an amazing task management or project management tool. But for you, I want you to pick the one that is going to kind of jive with you, right? Whether that be Podio or Basecamp or Asana, it doesn't matter. I just want you to get a task management system. So I don't know if you guys can relate to this, but when I first started my business, first of all, no one told me what a task management tool was, which is hello, can someone please shed some light here? Because I was totally lost. Yeah. And so I remember just using the little sticky notes that would pop up on my computer and just using that. And then I had this journal that I was writing things on. Well, first it was a legal pad and then it was a journal. I upgraded.
I feel you.
And then then I started putting sticky notes, Post-it notes all over my desk, and they were on my monitor, and it was just total, complete chaos, right?
Flashbacks, yeah.
So, I mean, I had I would be out and about, maybe I was shopping or I was on the phone with someone, and then I had this idea that I wanted to write down. So I would pull out my journal, and then if I didn't have my journal, it was an app, maybe it was Evernote or some random notes app on my phone. And so I had all these crazy ideas that I wanted to, get done in these projects all over the place, right? They were on my Post-its, they were on my journal, on my planner, on my phone. It was a mess. And so what I want you guys to do is avoid all of that and have a centralized location where you can really plan out all of your projects in your business, all of your to-dos, all of those things that you're trying to accomplish, the things that you're learning about and want to implement, but then also a place where down the line when you get a team, or if you have a team right now, you can actually communicate with them as well and not just bring all the chaos into their world world as well, because I see this all the time. We get really excited about hiring team members, and we don't have a specific structure or a workflow that we want to teach them. And then communication just gets crazy, right? They're forwarding you emails, they're texting you, they're calling you, and it's a mess.
Yeah.
So we want to get a task management system that really solves that problem for us. Now, I love using Trello, and Trello can be a little bit daunting if you're just getting started and you don't really know how to use the platform, because it's super, super customizable. And that's like a double-edged sword, right? If you're getting started with Trello, you see this blank board and you're like, oh my gosh, what am I supposed to do with this? No idea. So what you want to do is Trello actually has an amazing blog, and they have tons and tons of boards that you can gather inspiration from. But if you want a shortcut, I actually have a Trello board that I'm going to make accessible here for Michelle. So all of you guys can copy my own workflow board and kind of see how I use it. There's also a video that's going to show you how to use the board. So it's going to be really, really simple and easy, and that way you have a head start to use the tool. But regardless, whether you want to use Trello or not, definitely use a task management platform. And you can still use paper. If you're a paper person, that's totally okay. I actually love using paper just to jot down like all of my ideas, right? And kind of get those on paper. And then later on, I'll transfer that into my to-do list. And that way, you kind of can merge both worlds, especially if you're just getting started and you're used to writing everything down. Definitely making that transition can be a little bit easier if you just start out by writing everything down on your planner or on your notebook and then transferring it onto an online tool. The reason why I really recommend using an online tool and not just a planner is, Michelle, you know this. Things change in our businesses, right? Like you have to, change out a blog post that was scheduled for next week because something more important came along, or maybe you have to put this project on hold. And so being able to have that versatility is really important when it comes down to managing your tasks, because things are going to happen, things are going to change, and you want to be able to have that flexibility of literally dragging over, right, your cards or your to-dos from one section to the other. And so that's how I like to manage everything. Is it making sense so far?
Totally making sense. And cool. I completely agree. I don't know if you've seen, Megan Minns, right?
Yeah.
I love her, obsessed.
She's awesome.
I know. But she came out with like a how to use your Asana, and it was so revolutionary for me because I was using Asana, but probably not to the best ability, but coming up with templates and then copying them and then just moving them along in the task. It's like, oh my gosh, it saved my life. So what Ken's talking about is 100% true. Like, to just free up the mental space in your brain. Like, if you have a system for writing your blogs or recording your videos or whatever, to get that in there, it takes so much pressure off because your brain isn't having to constantly cycle repeated information so that you don't forget. So it's really, really amazing.
I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because that is perfect segue into step number 2, which is starting to take note of the systems and processes that you have in your business that you might not think of as systems or processes. They're just things that you just do, right? Because as solopreneurs, we're like little working machines, and we don't realize that there's a lot of processes that we're repeating over and over and over again. And our little brain, like Michelle said, has to remember every single step, and it just becomes overwhelming. So like, just as an example, if you're having to publish a blog post, right? There's about 17,000 steps that you need to follow, right? First, you kind of like brainstorm the idea, and maybe then you're going into maybe something like Keyword Planner and doing some research. After that, you're figuring out what the headline is going to be. Then maybe you write the first draft and you edit it. And then before it's published, you have to create these graphics. And then once it's published, maybe you do, or maybe before you do SEO, and you make sure it's optimized.
And get
and
the
after
link
that,
and do the bit.ly link, and then do the click to tweet, and then
right. And that's just like the writing part, not even like the promotion, right? So it becomes extremely overwhelming really, really fast for you, even if it's just one area in your business, to just track what the heck you need to do next. So I love that you bring up that point, Michelle, because really sitting down and just even being just aware in your day-to-day routine of the things that you are doing on a consistent basis is super important. So what I would do is definitely start taking note of all the steps that you actually follow to complete individual tasks in your business and putting those on a checklist like inside of Asana or inside of Trello that you can easily replicate every time you're getting ready to complete that task saves you so much mental energy and so much mental space that could be used for things that are much more important, like, creativity and servicing your clients and just showing up in the world in better ways. And so I really want to make sure that you guys are documenting the systems and the processes that you on a daily basis execute in your businesses in order to get stuff done. So really important. And I actually wanted to share a tool, Michelle, I didn't know if you actually use Sweet Process or have heard of Sweet Process.
My pen is ready. Sweet Process. No, I haven't heard of that.
Yeah, it's a really neat tool that literally allows you to document your systems and your processes in a very efficient way. But the cool thing is you can actually have, maybe if you have a virtual assistant or you have some kind of an intern or a team member, you can actually go in there and edit all of those out as the workflow changes and adapts, which is definitely something you're going to bump into eventually as your business grows and you want to maybe deploy some new strategies. And so I love Sweet Process for that particular reason. Now, we don't use it on a daily basis, but it's definitely really helpful if, for example, the project management tool that you're using doesn't necessarily have a checklist like Trello and Asana has that you can duplicate and use over and over again. So Sweet Process, I love it. I think it's such an amazing tool. Definitely check that out.
Awesome. Oh, I feel like that would be good even just to have like on record of what your processes are instead, because sometimes, inside of Asana or Trello, it can get a little scattered. So I feel like having it all in one place would be really, really helpful.
Totally. And a little Trello tip, and maybe this is something that you guys can also do in Asana, is if you have a specific project or a board that you can just dedicate to documenting systems and processes, that's super helpful. That's something that we do. And I just have this mega board and on each of the lists on Trello, I have specific topics, right? So if it has anything to do with video, if it has anything to do with blogging, or if it has anything to do with course creation or updating the material inside of our websites, all of those different categories have little cards, and inside each card, there's a checklist for a specific task. And that way, if you think about it, when you get to the point where you have multiple team members, you're not having to train them on every single little thing, right? Because it's documented, it's replicable. And so this is a concept that comes from traditional businesses. When businesses are going through their evaluation process before they get acquired, it's one of the main things that they look at is their systems and their processes. Do you have documents of how you do what you do so that it's easily replicable? And so you want to think about, your online business like a real business. A lot of times, we're in our pajamas and we think that, oh, we're the business and it's cutesy and it's great. But treating your business like a real business is so important. Sometimes we don't make that kind of connection in our head. And so this is one of the things that you really want to show up of as a pro. I don't know if you've read the book by Steven Pressfield. It's Turning Pro. It's actually a really amazing book. But it really talks about that idea of how would you show up in the world if you were the very best at what you did, right? If you were the best blogger, the best fitness coach, the best expert, how would you show up in the world? Would you have like a total jumbled mess of sticky notes everywhere? Or would you have your systems and processes documented? Treating your business, like a real business and going pro is so amazing and so important, especially when you're kind of like in those beginning stages where you're really setting the tone for your business growth. So if you can become super organized right now and have a workflow that just encourages productivity, but also that you're really excited about, can make just amazing, amazing changes in your business that will allow you to grow and move forward. So definitely documenting those processes is something that you want to take seriously. And, I would encourage you, even if it's, one task a day, just take out those extra 5 minutes to document that process so that over time you can start collecting all of the processes that you go through on a daily basis in your business. And when it comes time to actually grow and expand your team, someone else can take over the responsibilities that you're already taking over. And trust me when I tell you, when you get to that point, it is sweet relief. And you want to be able to just pass that on to someone that can take care of it in the most effective and painless way possible. So don't take this lightly. It's very important, that you really start taking your workflow seriously and documenting those little tiny steps that really add on to those big projects and those big goals and those big accomplishments are super important.
100%. I think that that's brilliant. I did that kind of the opposite way, where I had started in Asana, but I didn't have all my workflows down, and I brought on a team, and it was my fault. It was a bit of a craziness because it's like, how do they know what to do? And I had made them like individual pages on my website to kind of show them what I wanted them to do, but I didn't outline the processes. So like, how are they supposed to remember after watching a video once exactly what to do over and over again? It's like silly stuff that I had no idea. Like, you think about bringing on a team and it's all like sunshine and rainbows, but it is a lot of work because you have to transfer your brain into a workflow so they can understand exactly how to best serve you. So I think it's amazing what you're saying. Keep going.
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree. I think that especially when you're bringing on a team, and, even if you don't have a team just yet, just for your own sanity, like really organizing your tasks can free up hours and hours and hours of complete gibberish and craziness in your business. Just by organizing your tasks, you're going to be able to have hours of time back that you can reinvest in the more important things in your business, right? Building those relationships, making sure your marketing is on point, servicing your clients. All those things are the things that are going to move your business forward. But if you don't have a solid foundation, it's going to be tough. I mean, it's going to be really hard. So I definitely want to encourage our listeners to make sure that they're taking this seriously. But also, if you have a team like Michelle, mentioned, it's so important to have documentation of what you want them to do. It can easily become more work to have more people in your team, right? Because you're having to manage everything that they do. And it's just like, okay, why didn't anyone tell me that this is going to be more work?
Exactly.
So what you want to do is just have an area where you can really, jot down those processes. And we've actually taken this to the next level. And for the past year, we've been documenting with video as well what we're doing. And so a really quick tip, if you are wanting to replicate this for a team member or even just for yourself, because this is always helpful, what you can do is use a tool, very simple, maybe something like Jang, or I actually love Screencast-O-Matic.
Once I heard that from you, I got it right away, and I use it for everything.
Good. I love it. It's such a cool tool.
Yeah.
So what you can do is literally just go as you start, drafting your blog post, as you start onboarding a new client, as you start creating that newsletter, just pop that on there and start recording your screen as you go through that task and save it, and that way you can just attach a little link to wherever the video is saved, whether that be on your Dropbox or your Google Drive, and add that to that specific Trello card or that Asana task. And that way you have a very visual representation of that workflow, and that can save you so much time and energy just in training someone new. And trust me, you're going to need to train someone at some point to take over your business because you can't do everything by yourself. So you want to be able to have those workflows not just organized, but also documented in a way that is a very visual. So I find that very helpful. My team loves it. And I've gotten to the point where I probably haven't recorded a new video for them in at least 6 months because everything is there. And so by by just doing the work and just documenting what I'm already spending time doing myself. That way I don't have to, schedule out, oh, I have to do 2 hours of training my team this week. I just literally go through it and I pop on my headphones and I just use a little mic on my headphones and I go through the entire process and I just pop that little baby up there and a little link, and they know exactly where to find it if, in the future I ask them to come back to that task and complete it again. So just a little tip that can really help you to start organizing those workflows. All right, cool. So are we ready for step number 3?
I'm ready. I don't know if you guys are ready, but it's too bad because this is pre-recorded. So
totally.
Go.
All right. So step number 3 is to create a filing system for your documents. So of course, part of your workflow needs to be to have an organized system where you're storing all of your files. Again, something that we just don't make the connection between, let's say, corporate America or real, traditional businesses and the online world. So I've been, guilty of this many times. I coach a lot of my clients who I look at their desktop and it's just full of 7,000 files. They don't know where anything is located, and it just becomes total chaos when you're trying to find that one blog draft or that one document that's super important, right? And so you really want to have a system where you're filing your documents. And of course, you want to sign up for a storage solution. Please don't attempt to do this on your computer's drive. Like, it's just going to be too much eventually. So what I would do is I would sign up for a storage solution like Dropbox or Google Drive. I'm a big fan of Google Drive just because it integrates with Google Docs and it's just amazing. But you can use whatever you feel comfortable with. Now, I want you to sign up for a business version of a storage solution. Please don't attempt to use 3 different Dropbox accounts because you're running out of storage. Do not do it, my friend. Okay, we are businesses and it's like $10 a month. Please, if you need to cut out the coffee, do it, but get a storage solution that's designed for a business. So important. Going back to showing up as a pro, right? Again, that notion of like, dude, you really need to show up as a professional, take your business seriously, and get a good storage solution. And so what we like to do, you really just want to organize it in a way that makes sense to you and your team. But what we do, I'm just going to give you a really quick example of like the structure that we use, and hopefully that can be helpful in like giving you a couple ideas. So the first thing that we do is we have a folder that's literally named Kim, and it's everything that goes in my business, right? But I also have a personal folder where I keep all of my personal stuff. And so we have a couple folders kind of like on that top tier level of categories. And so when it comes to that Kim folder where all of my business stuff goes in there, we have a content folder, for example. And then we have inside of that, there's a publishing folder, and then we have subfolders for newsletters and blog post drafts and all the stuff that we publish on a recurring basis. And then, if we go up one tier, we'll have, in addition to the content folder, we'll have an admin folder. And that's where all of our paperwork goes in, right? Anything that's related to our business, our licenses, anything that is admin related goes into that folder. And there are subcategories there as well. As we grow and expand the business, of course, we don't create 17,000 categories for the future. I don't recommend that because it gets very confusing. Just as you go, you can start adding more and more categories. And then we have another category for our videos, our YouTube, our podcast episodes, anything related to marketing goes under one specific folder, and so on and so forth. So you want to keep it as simple and as congruent as possible. If you can, use some kind of indicator that lets some people like to use abbreviations before their folder name. Just make sure that it's very simple, that anyone who accesses it can understand what the heck is going on, because I've been part of some Google Drives and I'm just like, Lord, what happened here? I just, you know what I'm saying? Just like, oh my gosh, there's like 7,000 spreadsheets, and all of them say untitled, and it's just like, dude, please don't do this. So you want to make sure that you're organized, and there's always going to be a kind of like everything else folder, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You just throw things in there that's like your kitchen drawer where all the random stuff goes in. So just keep an open mind. keep it very simple and make sure that it's easy for you to grow into in the future. But super important to have a storage solution and organizing your documents in a way that is simple for you, but that you can also access it on multiple devices, that it's in the cloud, that you're not going to lose. And so I find this to be one of the things that has saved me so much time. And every single year we create an archive of all the documents that we haven't used, for the past 6 months and we're not going to use in the future. That way we make space for the next year. And so that's something that might be helpful for you as you, start this process. It's looking at those because eventually it's just going to become a lot. There's going to be a lot of information there. So purging, maybe once a quarter might be very helpful. We create an archive of all of our, folders, and we just put everything that's old in that archive, and that way we don't have to look at it. But it's the same concept as a traditional business, right? Like when you work in corporate America, usually there's a filing system and someone at the office who knows the structure and can tell you if you're filing a document the wrong way. And so you want to make sure that you have that documented in your business as well. Same thing. And a lot of times we just don't make that connection. But staying organized and making sure that you have a congruent way of running your business overall is going to help you do so much more and really hit those goals faster. And it's those little things that sometimes trip us up, right? It's those little things that we don't really think about that much, that are not the shiny objects, that are not the ninja strategies, but are really the foundation of our business and what determines how fast we can move forward. So those are my 3 steps. I hope they were helpful for you guys. I know that for a lot of you, this might be a lot of information, but I'm sure that once you go through them step by step and you start implementing, you're going to see a really big change, hopefully a very positive change, in the way that you run your business on a daily basis.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. I think that was incredible. I am hearing some of my subscribers on the floor drooling right now, and that's okay. It's totally normal. I've drooled myself. That is what's so beautiful about podcasts, is that you can save the episode for later and then go over it again and make all the notes that you need to make. And this is a process. If you're not ready to start your online storage, at the very least, get a software like Carbonite that's backing up everything that's on your desktop.
Amen.
That way, if there's a fire or the hard drive goes nuts or whatever, it's always saved to that location. And all they do is then send you a drive with all that info on it. So it's incredibly important that no matter what, you're having your stuff backed up. Because otherwise, if you're anything like me, there's that constant low-grade fear all the time.
I know. Oh my gosh. I love that you mentioned that. Can you repeat that URL again?
Carbonite.
Carbonite.
Carbonite. So, and that's for PC. I don't know if there's a different one for Mac. I think that it's universal, but I remember just feeling this panic about it. And my dad came over, he's he's more of the prepper guy. So he's like, well, where's all this getting backed up to, Michelle? And I'm like, I don't know. And he's like, this is what you need. And I'm so glad he did that, because now I don't worry about it. And I'm just getting started with Google Drive and getting my email sequences saved there in case, ConvertKit has a problem or something. But
right.
I really love that you gave that, because it's kind of the next step. You can start with Asana or Trello or another software, start outlining your tasks, and then just start getting those accounts, and then just piece by piece backing stuff up there so that you have that wonderful library collection of stuff. I love that perspective of treating your business like a business, because a lot of times if it's just you, you feel like, well, whatever, and you're just kind of in the heat of the moment. But it's true, this is a long-term investment. So I love that you pointed that out.
Yeah, thanks, Michelle. I definitely think it's really important. And I'm glad that you brought up that point about backing things up. Sometimes all you need is just a backup. I can't tell you how many horror stories I've heard from my business buddies. In fact, one of my mentors was telling me how she literally revamped her entire course, didn't save any of the videos on the cloud, or didn't have a backup system. The entire computer got fried because there was some kind of voltage issue with her house, and she lost all of the information, had to start over. So I hear these stories all the time. It's happened to me as well, where I accidentally delete a ConvertKit sequence and I'm just like, no. But thank Jesus I had the backup. So it's very important in your business as you start growing to just have that peace of mind, even if it's like you said, not even worrying about it, being able to just remove all the worry and say, you know what, I have a backup. It's safe. No matter what happens, I can, restore it at some point. And it's just great. And that just really freeing your mind from having to worry about all these little things allows you to show up in the world in the way that you're intended to show up without the extra stress that sometimes we don't even realize we have just because, we create extra chaos for ourselves.
Oh, so true. It was raining like crazy in LA last week and, lightning and thunderstorms and all this stuff. And I could hear the power clicking on and off throughout my apartment. And what was so wonderful, I'm married to a camera assistant, so he knows more about like power and voltage and all that.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's pretty amazing. And so, I have the surge protector, and then he actually got this thing that's like a backup battery. So it will you know what I'm talking about. It'll transfer the power. So if you're not getting it from the wall, it'll keep the computer running and won't cause a huge problem.
Which is so helpful. Oh my gosh.
The moment I heard that click, I was just like, oh, okay. And I heard the thing beep and it took over, and oh my gosh, it's little stuff like that. And you may be hearing that and going like, Michelle, you're talking about technology. I don't even want to hear that. I know, but I want to protect you. And that's what Kim wants to do too, so that you have all of your foundation in place so that then you can be more creative. When you're able to get this stuff into your project management software, when you're able to organize this on Google Drive or whatever you choose, when you're not worried about your actual physical computer, then you can go out and create. You can start thinking about new things you want to offer. And it just like she said, it frees up so much RAM in your brain because you're not having to cycle those thoughts continuously to try to remind yourself. So it's a great idea to start, experimenting with these different systems in your business so that you can create more. I know for me, it's made a huge change, and it's enabled me to make 3 courses, 12 videos, 15 blogs, 20 live streams, all of that in 3 months. Before,
wow. Wait, pause. Wow, that's amazing. Congrats, seriously. That's incredible. So that's amazing. But I'll let you continue.
Business Lounge inspiration. But it's true because I didn't have to worry about my systems. I didn't have to worry about what was going on. I was putting up my workflows. I was working on my content calendar. So once I had that clarity, I am more of a type A thoroughbred personality, but I was able to push through and get all of it done. So this is all with the intention. Systems Month is entirely geared towards helping you get these things in place so you can create more faster, therefore grow your business faster. So
I love it.
Kimberly, is there any final words of wisdom you want to give? And I definitely want to talk a little bit about your podcast and the Business Lounge so people know where to find you.
Sure. I think just reiterating what we talked about, throughout the entire episode, just take it one step at a time. Don't overwhelm yourself. You're in charge of how overwhelmed you feel is something that I always say. And I want to make sure that you're just taking it one step by step and just building on the momentum that you get, just by listening to this podcast. Hopefully you've been inspired and you're excited to get things rolling. So just give yourself the time and the space to implement, but move forward, even if it's just a little step, every single day to figuring out how you can start creating workflows that save tons of time for you and enable you to really just bring, the best of you into the world. So I'm really excited to hopefully hear some feedback and hopefully have your audience get really excited about, creating workflows, which is something that I'm sure is going to serve them, not just now, but as their business grows and continues to evolve. So that's awesome.
100%. And it's okay. Even today, sometimes I do some systems and then I have to run around, not literally screaming, but I have to get out of my environment. I have to go to the coffee shop or to the beach or something and get out of that space. So remember, for all the time that you spend sitting there implementing your systems and creating, then you need to get your butt out of the house and get into that creative space so that you can dump all of that information and get into more of the creative side of your brain. So yay. Okay, let's talk first about your podcast, which has just been released.
Yeah, I'm so excited about it. Yeah, so it's called the Business Lounge Podcast, and I'm really excited about it just because every single week we're going to be talking about a new strategy, and I love steps, like I mentioned, Michelle. I love podcasts as well. And so we're really excited to just be able to kind of provide this new channel for our audience and for your audience as well, and just help them really start implementing, new strategies, new marketing and business strategies in a way that's really simple, but really powerful. And so I'm a big believer in kind of breaking down the strategies that we're using as well in our business and kind of making that available to the public, just so that people can start getting ideas and inspiration and really bringing it to them in a system, not just in some, crazy kind of theoretical environment, and really just show them behind the scenes of what we're working on, what our members are working on, and some of the new strategies that are coming out, and how to really make sure that they're implementing an overall online business strategy to move forward, not just one-off strategies, that they kind of learn on some video or a blog or even a podcast, just making sure that they understand how each of those strategies ties into the overall, kind of synopsis or the vision of the business. It's really important. And so we're really excited to be bringing that on to the world. We're also going to be really just sharing a lot of what we already do on the YouTube channel, which is really exciting as well. And so it's been great. We actually have a cool giveaway going on that I wanted to mention. Probably will be over by the time this podcast is launched, but check it out anyway. We're actually giving away 10 scholarships, 30-day scholarships to the Business Lounge podcast. So we're having a big giveaway just as kind of like a celebration of the launch of the podcast. So I'll definitely give you that link. Maybe you can include it in the show notes.
Of course. I think that's so exciting. It's true, because when you are an entrepreneur and you're listening to all these podcasts and all that stuff, what you're really looking for, like, I do not recommend, don't subscribe to more than 5 to 10 podcasts. It's going to be too much, and everyone's doing something different in their business, so it may distract you. You need to find the ones that you can easily implement pretty much immediately and follow. So like for me, my main two is the Femtrepreneur Show and the Business Lounge, and maybe sometimes Chalene Johnson's podcast, but that's pretty much it. Those are the ones I'm looking forward to. Those are the ones I listen to. And it's like you're on a galloping horse, right? You're on a galloping horse all the time in your business. And like, I think about Lord of the Rings, and I remember when Gimli like got to the side, he was like, burr, 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 burr. So you need the podcast that like, or that call for you, where you can be like, oh, okay, now I need to go this way. And now I need to go this way. Like, we're here to guide you and support you, but not to fracture you. So
Absolutely.
Definitely stick to the ones that resonate with you and can help you go, oh, okay, I didn't think of that, and I can implement that right away, which I know this has been a great podcast for that. So let's now talk a little bit about the Business Lounge. People probably want to know what it's about, what they get, and then how they can join.
Sure. So the Business Lounge is a membership website. It's designed to bring online entrepreneurs together in a community that's extremely supportive, but it's also there for you, the same concept, really going in depth into these strategies that you've already heard about from so many other amazing marketers, but you're not really sure how to make work in unison, right? So a lot of times we read this awesome blog post about Instagram and how we need to be leveraging Instagram, but you have no idea how that ties into the strategies that you're already deploying in your blog, or maybe your newsletter, your email marketing, or your Facebook ads. And so the Business Lounge is designed to really bring all of these strategies into one centralized location. And we have over 14 courses right now that all build on each other. So we designed it strategically so that what you learn with email marketing makes sense with what you learn with smart Facebook ads, makes sense with what you learn with create profitable online courses and design profitable sales funnels. And so it's really going to show you how to create a plan, a marketing plan, and implement that plan in a very structured step-by-step process. But more importantly, you actually get support from both myself and the members every single day. It's not one of those memberships where you're kind of like just another number and you're, kind of set out to just fend for yourself. We're there to support you every single day. I'm in there answering questions, providing personalized feedback, and making sure that you're not going at this alone, right? There's so many of us who are struggling to figure out, what we should be focusing on next and what really is going to be that next step for us and what we should be implementing in our businesses. And really having that support and that feedback is so important. It's something that I wish I had when I first started. And that's why we've designed the Business Lounge, to make sure that online entrepreneurs have a place where they can, really gather and do the work. It's not just about learning, but also primarily about implementing and making sure that you're staying accountable day in and day out, making sure that you're implementing what you're learning and that you have someone who you can go to whenever, this strategy doesn't feel right for your business, or you need to figure out, if you need to focus on this thing or that thing first. I'm there, I'm super involved, and we're really excited about the growth that our members are experiencing.
Yeah, I loved it. I loved being able to, after I kind of advertised my Tripwire and made a lot of great sales, I loved being able to go into the group, and I knew that I could tag Kim in it. I knew people were going to be really excited for me. I've been so in the submarine, I haven't been as involved in the member forum as I should be, but it's been so wonderful to have that resource. I know it's not just a course that you take once and you're like, okay, that's all it can offer. Practically every week she's coming out with a different course that's really centered on what you need at the time. So that's what I really love about what you've created. I think you've stayed very in touch with your clients, and it's such an important thing. And for me, I'm very much okay, if it works for me now, okay, now it's not really working, I'm out of there. So the fact that I've been there month after month after month, I cannot tell you enough. Get into the Business Lounge if you're struggling, if you're feeling adrift, if you want that one-on-one support in that group environment. The Business Lounge is a great place to be. So I'm going to leave that link below along with the freebie link that Kim is offering you today. You can definitely comment below. If you're watching this on YouTube, let us know what you thought. Otherwise, if you are on iTunes or Stitcher, please leave us a review. Let us know what you thought of the episode. We would love to hear from you. I'm also going to link Kim's podcast below. So you're going to get everything Kim in the description here. And if you're on iTunes or Stitcher, you can click the 3 dots and view full description, and those links will be clickable. So Kim, thank you so much for being here. It's been such a privilege to be able to honor you and interview you on my show. Thank you. I'm so excited to have this premiere, and I can't wait to see what everyone thinks and watch them incorporate this into their workflow. It's going to be so exciting.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Michelle. I mean, it's been such a great experience just talking to you and being part of your podcast, which is amazing. It's truly been an honor. I've enjoyed every second of it, and maybe sometime I can come back.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Don't tell me that. I'll have you back tomorrow. Okay, everyone. We'll see you in the next episode. Make it a great week. And I hope you get to set up a productive workflow for yourself to free up your time. We'll see you in the next one.
Thanks for listening in today to the Visibility Vixen podcast. Subscribe now and share with a fellow Vixen who wants to start building their visibility. For more fire in your life and brand, visit visibilityvixen.com.